Hey viewers and viewresses, my name is General Red Strategist. Welcome back to So You're Being Hunted. This is episode 286. Now, remember of course in the last episode, we just had a bit of a podcast style, little podcast style chat and all that. And in this episode, we're actually going to be starting a new challenge. I say new challenge. I mean, it's not really new. It's basically a reattempt at a previous one, but hopefully this one will go better this time. So, of course, you remember episode 284, I kind of failed my Oblivion challenge. That lasted for all of about 2 episodes, and then I fucked it up. So, we're basically going to have another go at that, ladies and gentlemen. And this time, I'm actually changing the rules a little bit. So it's going to be called the Oblivion Lite challenge, rather than the Oblivion challenge as it was previously. So the idea is the rules are essentially the same. I have to charge in to areas where device pieces are located. Have to say the old, Elder Scrolls Oblivion line of stop, you violated the law, pay the court a fine or serve your sentence, your stolen goods are now forfeit. Then when the robots fire at me, then pay with your blood, and then and only then can I attack them to kill them off. Now, of course, in the original iteration of this challenge, the rule was that when taking out robots who are guarding device pieces, I have to use the hatchet, which I have here, of course. However, that proved a little tough, because obviously I did well at first, but then eventually you get that one robot who manages to get a good shot off on you, which takes all of your fucking health out. So that proved a bit too much. So instead of doing that, whilst I can try using the hatchet if I want, basically I'm changing the rule a little bit so that I can use guns and other weapons as well to take them out. So, obviously the Elder Scrolls games, they have magic, stuff like that, so just sort of imagine that the guns are actually spells or something. I don't know. That's basically what I'm trying to go for. But hopefully this time we'll actually do better than we did previously. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping, at least. We got some revolver ammo there. If we could actually get a gun, that would be pretty good. Of course, I'm starting as the gamekeeper class here, so we don't... would you look at that? I was about to say we don't have a gun, and lo and behold that, we now have a gun, which is good news. Because it means I'm not potentially having to charge in with just my hatchet. Now if we could get maybe a bit more ammunition for this, that would be absolutely perfect. We've got a few odds and ends at the moment. We could do really with matches, actually, so that we can just quickly cook our pheasant and get the meat out of it. But there is a torch, though, which I will take. Torch is always useful. So once again, I'm on a kind of new map for this one. Tweaked the biome generation settings so that it's all randomised. Tweaked the generation settings so that we get some fairly interesting environments. There we go, matches. Exactly what I need. Now it's just a matter of locating a log pile, which should be over there, in fact, by that tower. So let's just go and sort that out. Sort out the pheasant. It'll free up a bit of inventory space. And then we can kick off trying to locate some device pieces. So I hope you guys out there are doing okay, and hope you're looking forward to this fresh attempt at the Oblivion challenge, the Oblivion Lite challenge, as I now want to call it. There we go, meat accumulated. Where do we go from here, or where shall we go, rather? Because there's got to be a location around somewhere where we can find some device pieces. So once again, mainly the whole idea of the Oblivion challenge is just giving me an opportunity to play through the game again and have some good episodes. It's just a way of giving myself content for the foreseeable future. That's the thing, some of the challenges you get, they can be a bit short at times, which is not too much of a problem. It's just obviously because I block record episodes, it helps if I have a challenge where I can block record an absolute ton of stuff in one go, or maybe a couple of episodes at a time or whatever. You know what I mean, right? Extra ammunition. It's good. It's always good, when you set the biomes to generate large villages, because that way you're never really wanting for ammo. You look hard enough and you'll find plenty of it. Just fantastic. Aha! Are there any lawbreakers by this device piece over here? I don't think there are. You see, that's how So You're Being Hunted games always go, isn't it? When you first start out, there's usually one device piece that's just not guarded, which is therefore fairly easy to get your hands on. We'll take this back to the standard... Oof, fish and chips, yes, I'll take those. Right, I'm kind of stocking up on a lot of supplies here, which just need to be a little careful I'm not filling up the whole inventory in one go. Let's get some extra bandages though, they can be quite good. Alright, moving on, back to the standing stones, I do think, old boy. So as I was saying, hope you guys out there watching this are all doing fine. I'm taking a little opportunity to do some recording, just a little downtime from work, because these last few days I have been very busy marking another round of academic essays from an online course, that is. I think I've talked about online courses here before on my So You're Being Hunted series, how kind of enjoyable they actually are to teach, how sort of different they are as well to a conventional seminar. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that I have talked about them before, so I won't go into too much detail about that, but obviously, like I say, I've been marking a load more essays, and I've just finished, actually, the current batch this morning, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily done just yet, because the thing is, now that the first marking process has been complete, that means that I'm going to be engaged with the second marking process pretty soon. So second marking usually isn't quite as onerous as the first marking process, because of the first marking process you have to go through every single essay that you get given. You have to not only decide on a grade at the end of it and a mark, but you also have to leave feedback. So not only do you give like a summary of key points once you've read the whole thing, you also leave comments on the manuscript as you're going along. And so that means that, you know, for a simple essay of about 2,500 words, that can take you up to maybe an hour or so if you're leaving, you know, depending on how many comments obviously that you're leaving. But you know, second marking is not so bad, because unless, you know, you find yourself disagreeing with the feedback that the person who first marked it has left, and you end up disagreeing with the grade they've awarded, generally you don't have to second mark all of their entire batch. You can just take a sample out of it, and that'll be good. I'll talk about this, I'll continue talking about this in a moment, just as soon as I've dealt with these guys. Stop, you violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit. Then pay with your blood. Right, you're out. 2 shots, quick succession. Oi. Gotcha. There we are. Right, he's got mints, which I'll eat straight away. Let's get this into the inventory before I start picking up shotguns or anything. Right, just more mints, that's fine. Okay, so our first lawbreaker's dealt with. But like I was saying, you know, getting back to the topic of conversation at hand, second marking and all that. Because obviously, the thing is, second marking, on the course that I'm on, the marking deadlines, there's a fairly tight turnaround. So second marking, the whole thing is, you don't necessarily have to, you know, look at the entire batch of essays that someone else marked. You just, from their batch, you take out a few sample essays. So usually you'll try and get one example of each kind of grade category, and maybe any kind of like borderline grade categories, things like that. You'll obviously look at any essays that have been given a fail mark. So, you know, you take that sample, and all you have to do is just read it through, think in your own head, okay, what grade or mark would I have given this myself, and then give a little bit of feedback in terms of just a short paragraph of thoughts, maybe, you know, 2, 3, 4 sentences, not too much, and just, you know, think, do you agree with the mark that was originally awarded by the first marker, things like that. But yes, yeah, second marking, so it's not too bad. It's just one of those kind of duties that can be a bit of a chore. But, you know, so far in my job, I can't say I've ever had a moment where I find myself really kind of disagreeing with what a first marker has put, or what grade a first marker has given. You know, you get the odd sort of slight difference in terms of the numerical mark, but that's usually not grounds enough to change the grade or anything like that, unless it's crossing a grade category, in which case you then have to refer it to an assessment board, who will then make a final decision on whether or not to change the grade. Alright, yeah, I don't know, sorry, again, I've probably talked about this topic before, haven't I? And I'm just going on and on about it, marking my job and all that. People probably are not that interested, but it's a topic of conversation, and sometimes I do like talking about it, which ain't bad. Okay. Oh, man. But I must say, though, from the current batch of essays that I've marked, some of the students have, I must say, the grades that I've given this time around in my marking, there's, you know, not very many fails, but there are just a lot of ones which are kind of low-end passes, which, you know, isn't bad. It means you've done enough good stuff to actually warrant passing. But of course, the sort of downside of that is that there are various things which the essays need to do better. Hold on, I'll continue talking in a second. Stop! You violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit. Then pay with your blood. Gotcha. You probably have a friend somewhere around there, don't you? Mister? My good pal? I hear you blip blop blippity blopping over there. I don't need this many friggin' bandages, do I? Where's your friend? There he is. Oi. Don't need to say it again, because I've already said it. The line. There's no point in me saying it twice, or whatever else have you. Right, I need to do some inventory management here in order to fit this this old thing into my slot. Put this device piece in my slot. That is not what you want to hear, is it, ladies and gents? Maybe I should just throw away one of these bottles. Maybe get rid of the trap. Oh, actually, no, keep the trap. Urgh, I don't know. Get rid of that. You don't need that. So move that there. Tetris. We're doing some inventory Tetris here. Okay, here we go. There we are. See? Got it. Nice. Right, back to the standing stones, I do think. How are we doing for pieces? I think one more after this piece, and then we're done for the centre island, which is pretty damn good. You see how much of an expert at this game I am. But what was I saying? I was talking about, obviously, essays, and, you know, I've talked about this topic before, things which students sometimes do in essays, which they kind of need to watch out for, because it can be a bit of a pitfall. But, you know, I'll sort of talk a little bit about that again, right now, just because, again, it is one of those things. But, you know, in academic essays, something which some of the essays I've marked this time around, something that they don't do, they don't kind of deconstruct the question that they've been given. That's something which I personally always kind of recommend to a student. If you're if you're writing an academic essay, first thing you should always do is look at the question you've been given. This may seem like a no-brainer, but you'll kind of be surprised by how many people actually don't do this. But you should always look at the question, and you should always break it down into its key terms. So think, you know, when I say break it down into its key terms, I'm not so much talking about, you know, terms like discuss or analyse, stuff like that. I'm talking about kind of key concepts that may show up in the question. So, for example, if you're being asked a question about, let's say, realist international relations theory, then logically that's a key conceptual term that's coming up in your essay. And what that means is, probably, sometime early on in your paper, it will be desirable for you to spend a section, a concise but, you know, relatively detailed section up front, just defining what realism is, or what it's all about, things like that. That's just an example off the top of my head from my own kind of subject area. But again, you'll be surprised at how many students sometimes kind of forget to do that. And some people may kind of look at that and they may think, what's the purpose of doing that besides just defining key terms? Well, here's the thing, right? If you engage in that conceptual discussion, what you'll often find when you're looking at different academic writers is that some of them will have different views on different concepts and things like that. And so you can set up a bit of a conceptual debate, which is good for you as a student because it shows your understanding of the topic, it shows you're aware of these current debates, and it's also a good way perhaps for you to derive your own kind of definition of the key term, and it's a good thing to, you know, for lending a bit of structure or direction to your essay, because then you can sort of structure the rest of your discussion around such and such a debate, etc, etc. Right, I need to do my thing. Stop! You violated the law! Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit, now pay with your blood! Or then play... Oh wow, that guy killed his own friend. When the robots kill themselves, you don't even need to do anything. Fantastic. Alright, get rid of this. And that's actually the final device piece on this island, which I reckon will be a good place once we get back to the standing stones to actually wrap this episode up. So there you go, everybody. The importance of conceptual discussions in academic essays. Don't forget to do them. You know, I mean, I don't know so much about subjects in, you know, the hard sciences or anything like that, but here in my kind of discipline, politics and IR, etc, etc, security studies, etc, etc, that sort of thing is actually quite helpful. It's quite useful. So don't forget to do it, ladies and gents. But that's a common problem which some students tend to run into, including the ones whose essays I've just been marking these last few days. And if it's not that, it's usually also balance in the essay. And what I mean by that is, considering various different perspectives on the subject matter. That's the thing, admittedly 2,500 words, it's not a lot of words to work with, and the problem is that the university I work for, they have these guidelines where you actually have to include footnotes in your word count, which immediately means that a good percentage of your word space is going to be taken up by footnotes. I don't actually know why that is, but yeah, it's just strange. It's funny because the bibliography isn't counted in the word count at my university, in my subject area, yet the footnotes are, because we use a form of Chicago-style referencing, which utilises footnotes. But yeah, students have asked me before, why is it that footnotes are counted to the word count? The truth is, I actually don't know the answer to that. I'll have to ask one of my senior colleagues and see what their thoughts on the matter actually are. But yeah, balancing your essays, that's always important to achieve. So, get a couple of perspectives in there on the subject matter and have a bit of a debate between them. That doesn't mean, you can't sort of come down on one side or the other if you think the data points in that direction. You can do. But, it's just good to show multiple perspectives so that you've kind of arrived at a fairly balanced conclusion and what have you. So yeah, little academic essay writing tip. And as I said, I probably talked about this in that episode a while back when I was actually talking about the conventions of academic essay writing. Let me have a sip of tea whilst I'm at it. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Right, we're coming up to a jetty over here towards the North Island, and we're going to wrap this episode up. So I think this is a good place to end it. Episode 286, the Oblivion Lite challenge, that's what we're going to call it. So we're going to have another go at this one, except now with a twist. We can actually use guns, which I think will make it probably a bit easier. It means I probably won't die straight away or whatever. Okay, well there you go everybody. So, hope you enjoyed this and hope you'll join me for episode 281 here on the North Island. If you're not doing this already, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, links down below, along with a link to my propagandist channel, as always. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, share my videos with friends on social media. But in the meantime, I'm signing off now. So, goodbye everybody. I don't think they have, okay. Oh lordy. These guys are just milling around a bit here. Man, when this battle's over, we'll have to check. If the Americans win, do you reckon Jerry the Patriot will still be standing somewhere on the beach? Oh my god, he's moving. Jerry's coming. He's had enough of standing around on the beach. He's incoming to join the fray. Oh, the Germans are going to be quaking in their boots now. Jerry the Patriot is charging. I mean, he's got a bit of duck feet going on there, but okay. Oh jeez. Okay, the German defence I think is fucked now. They've got less than 100 units left. Oh lord. Jerry! Where were you? Oh, there you are. He's coming. Jerry's en route, everybody. Jerry the Patriot, the absolute morale booster.